So we have that logic where the character is moving based on a given move direction that we calculate from the input direction. We rotate the character if it's changing direction that frame, basically. And we then move the character based on a velocity that we calculate. Of course, this is kind of pseudocode at this point. It doesn't do anything. The two functions, we have to fill them. But to do so, we need to add some values that we'll use to move our character, to calculate the velocity. So at the top of the class, we're going to export some values so that we can change them in the inspector, in the Godot editor. We're going to start by the maximum speed of the character. So let's say 50 units per second. Then we're going to have the move speed of the character. We're going to set it to the same value because we're not going to have analog movement at the start of the project. We'll add it later. Max speed and move speed being the same, it's basically the character is going to move at 50 units per second on the ground. Then we're going to have some gravity for the character. So the gravity is going to be a negative value because in 3D, the y-axis is pointing, again, up, like so. And so the gravity, we want it to apply downwards. Going back to the script editor, I'm going to set it to minus 80 units per second squared. It's not a speed, the gravity, so move speed is a speed in units per second, but the gravity is an acceleration in units per second squared. We're going to end with the jump force, the jump impulse rather, that we'll use in a few videos for jump. So let's set it to 25 units. It's going to add 25 units per second to the move speed whenever we press the jump key. Anyway, that will come later. So now we're going to work on the two dummy functions that we have, get input direction and calculate velocity, using these values to calculate the velocity. So let's go down the script to our get input direction. For this one, we just need to replace the vector 3 here with calculation based on the input.getActionStrength calls. So we're going to use the input class. It gives us global access to the currently pressed keys in the game and call getActionStrength. Now the thing is, we don't have input actions set up to move the character or to really have the keys or the joystick inputs pressed on the gamepad to move the character. So we're going to add that. Go to Project, Project Settings, and Input Map. We're going to add 4 input actions for move left, move right, move front or forward, and move back. All right, so then we want to add for each of these 4 the keys that we are going to press to trigger these input events. So for move left, it will be A. We're going to do WASD. It's a classic. For right, it's going to be D. For front, it's going to be W. And for back, it's going to be S, WASD. Then we're going to add the joy axes on the gamepad to add gamepad support to the game. So left stick left for move left. For move right, it's going to be left stick right. And you can do the same for move front. Not the joystick button. It's going to be joy axis. Left stick up. It's going to make the character move forward. And for moving back, it's going to be left stick down. Okay. With that, we can start entering our input events. So for the x-axis, this is going to be moving left or right. So we're going to take the strength of the move right action minus the, I'm going to copy the function call here, minus move left. Because moving left, so I'm going to place the camera behind the character. And from there, moving left is going to be -1 here on the x-axis, and moving to the right is going to be +1 on the x-axis. So that's what our move vector represents, right? The one we are calculating. So we have the x-axis. For the y-axis, the second axis, it's the one pointing up. We're going to put a value of 0. And the z-axis is the one moving forward or back, as you can see. It's positive going forward compared to the character, and negative going back. So we're going to duplicate the line where we calculate the left-right movement. I'm going to press Alt down to move it down the second axis, remove the trailing comma, and change the input events to move. The thing is, the character is rotated in the game. I'm seeing that in our source code. So this is negative forward and positive back. You can rotate the character 90 degrees to change that, but we're going to do move back minus move front. So one thing that you'll see with 3D and 3D creation software in general is that there is no common convention for the orientation of the axes. So let me draw a little bit here. In a given program, you might have X going that way, and Y going that way, and Z going that way, or you might have Z going that way, positive values going in that direction. You might also have the Z-axis going up and the Y-axis going front and back. This is also common. It depends on the 3D creation program or the game engine that you are using. So depending on where you export your assets from or how you set up your axes during export, you might have to change the input actions and the values that you are working with compared to what we are showing in this course. But with that, we have the input direction for the game. Next up, we're going to calculate the velocity and finally move our character.